So excited to have you, Catherine. I know we are in for a treat. Just a reminder, everybody, please mute yourself. Thank you.
Well, I certainly appreciate you hosting, Malika, and I'm sorry it had to be till December. I was teaching on Thursday nights this fall, so I didn't get to see any of the other ones, which was just a terrible waste. But I really appreciate you all being here, and we'll try to read fun poems. So the first poem is about my life as a clumsy person, which in fact I am. And my mother has a cameo in it because she is often the victim of my damages. And it begins with kind of a misquote from the Hindu epic poem, the Mahabharata. But I included it less for that reason than because it's supposed to have been what Robert Oppenheimer said after the first tests of the atomic bomb, to which I relate. So this is called Disaster Walking. I am come like time, the waster of peoples, like death, the destroyer of worlds. Where the marsh shelters a rare sea aster, there I trip, stagger, and crush. Where a sprinkler head lurks in long grass, there my blind heel falls, smashing and shattering. If the lid of a jar in the cupboard is loose, that jar I seize, and the ensuing crash, the splash of vinegar and glass are vast. These feet are drawn to slicks of algae, plasters of mud, these shins sharp corners, these fingers burners that blister and ratchets that bruise. I bite my own cheeks, poke my own eyes. The sleeve of my shirt snags the toilet paper holder, yanks it right out of the wall. If I tug on a shade, it unfurls forever. Never master of my hands, avatar of chaos and entropy, I stumble across the earth's crust, slipping, dropping, doing damage, sometimes slow, sometimes fast as a javelin hurled by some three-eyed god of not so random. At last, even my mother said, "You are a walking disaster." And who should know better than she, who opened the gates of flesh to free me, who loosed me upon this world. Thank you. Thank you. A few years ago, I had occasion to remark that people like me were coming late to the party of outrage. That is, we were feeling a lot of fury about things that had been going on for a very long time, but maybe we hadn't noticed them as we ought to because they were not affecting us personally. And I think we are all prone to do that, not only to take what we think of as other people's troubles lightly, but perhaps to deny that they're having any troubles until we realize. But when you come up with a spontaneous metaphor like the party of outrage, that is the kind of thing that makes you think, well, what's it like at the party of outrage? What kind of snacks do they serve? So I decided to visit the party of outrage in imagination and see. But to do that, I had to fictionalize a hopefully slightly worse version of myself to go there. And while I was at it, I gave myself a couple of fictional friends whom I decided to name Madison and Tiffany. So this is called Late to the Party. It's not much of a party, though some of the people are beautiful, their songs throbbing deeper than rivers, their door grate scrolled with an iron tree of life. Few really want to go to the party of outrage, all that ugly knowledge baked into the crackers like arsenic, dissolved in the water like lead. It's been going on 500 years, or 10,000. Everyone's tired. The toilets are all stopped up. The crowd surge thick as blades of dying grass. A fire of chair reeks and smokes on the bathroom floor, where a man in fatigues clutches himself in his arms, choking back whimpers. Stacked against the walls are half-sized coffins. One woman, her ankles fluid puffed and her eyes blazing with veins, holds another who is weeping softly with exhaustion. Like two great trees propping each other up, black walnuts, tulip poplars, they keep standing, no place to sit down. We are late to the party and reap cynical glances. Only now. Madison makes remarks about how things are done here. The crack on the kitchen table, no Pinot Grigio, slits her eyes at a teenage boy shrieking curses out the splintered window. Tiffany whispers that she doesn't feel very welcome, while a tattooed girl with a rope burn on her neck rolls a black eye. I think that despite my outrage, myself, I could really stand a night off, watch Special Victims. This isn't the only party in this burning city. Not for us, not yet. When we leave, swearing will be back tomorrow. No one follows. This is where they live. So I guess that cheered everybody up. On the lighter side, we have probably all had the experience of meeting someone whose work we've admired and realizing that we have absolutely nothing to say to them, walking down the stairs, as they say. So some years ago, actually lots of years ago, I was at a workshop at Sarah Lawrence College, and this was the year in which Billy Collins had been named the Poet Laureate of the United States. And he was on the faculty at that time, and I met him during a softball game. So this is called Billy Collins Pours Me a Beer. First came the writer's softball game, the lithe and the clumsy hustling and scrambling together in the green June heat, the gangly man on second, Billy something. I was deep in right field, safe from falling balls, reading the grass for carrion daisies and lucky leaves of clover, until someone yelled, "Run, you poet laureate!" Oh, that Billy. Afterwards, I met him at the station of the keg, where he drew me a plastic cup of pointed silver bubbles in modest domestic amber. I have to say something, I thought, slightly dazed, like someone grazed by a softball. I have to sound smart. Nothing. No nice lanyard. No, Baudelaire calls me his brother. All those words, and I found only two. Though I think now, if I had to choose, there are worse words than those we offer bartenders for scotch, heaven for unearned grace, or Mary Watkins, who cleans the office, for her long labor with the heavy mop, for the brief order she drags out of all that star litter's primal cruelty and decay, over and over, one more time, one more day. Thank you, I said, turning away, like I hadn't heard, like I didn't know, like I'd never read a word. I'm just looking at the chat. Thank you, very kind. The next poem is the title poem of the recent collection, and it is called Seining the Parking Lot. If you know the right people and the right parking lots, it turns out that you can fish in them when the river floods high enough. And some years ago, when the rumor was that the river carp had swum into the parking lot of the Greensboro Fairgrounds, this is Greensboro, Maryland, not North Carolina. I did wind up holding one end of a seine while my father and I tried to catch a few carp. And as it turned out, we didn't catch any carp, but we did get a few other things. So this is Seining the Parking Lot. After rushing rains, the long arch of bridge leans from land to water, and the parking lot, which is also the fairground, lifts its skeletal Ferris wheel from a hip-deep lake. River current plunges through before eddying and purling back to the deep channel, carrying bright perch, smooth pewter eels, the bones of the drowned. Down in that lake, two people joined by 30 feet of seine, tiny squares of net slung between two poles, fishing for brown gold carp. Their great opercular plates, their planks of sweet meat to smoke pink as salmon in an oil drum hung over a day-long sassafras fire. No carp have swum in with the torrent, but everything else comes up as the nets, folds, and currents sieve through the scurrying grass shrimp, transparent as animate water. Silver sides that quiver and flash and flee, beer cans, jagged, innocent tin razors, roseate grains of barnacles clamped by their calcium foreheads to the glassy elvers of the Chesapeake sea serpent, and condoms, rinsed of any freight of joy or shame, split now to admit passage of squirming, fingerling mermaids, or a glittering, lively handful of what, at first, could well be bioluminescent copepods, but which, seen close, reveal themselves to be the sparkling larvae of the nearest stars. And that one is a shout out to my father who seins parking lots. So hang on one moment here while I glance at the chat again. All good. All right. Just pulling one more up. This is a poem. It also has an epigraph from Rita Dove's poem After Reading Mickey in the Night Kitchen for the third time before bed. She says, "We're in the pink and the pink's in us." And the poem is actually called Black and Blue, not pink. And this is because as a response to the Black Lives Matter movement, there were often a lot of people saying Blue Lives Matter, meaning police lives. And what struck me about this was the assumption that they were different. About 13% of police officers in the United States are people of color. So a lot of Black lives are blue lives and vice versa. And it makes for a complicated existence, I think. So this one is called Black and Blue. And it is based on an incident I witnessed in Atlanta some years ago. In the vacant lot behind the failing florist display in carnations, the battered sign reads, "Black Lives Matter." One block down, a Rottweiler's gait barks back, "Blue lives do." On the sidewalk opposite, a policewoman works to wake a homeless woman against the chain link fence, calling back spirit to the weary flesh. Eastward, the gray clouds flush peony pale. Down here, clear rain plinks into shallow puddles, each half-second perfect spatter circle intersecting all the other perfect rings, each the same blink of brief. The officer, calm voice, brown hands, shirt the color of indigo ink, gives the shoulder she holds a gentle shake. Black, blue, back at the stations of the law, what do they say to her, all those blue men? How does she choose which shade she is of bruise? Inside shirt and skin, she carries the same vivid bouquet as this woman under her hand. Hibiscus heart, cartilage white and glistening, brilliant flamingo womb. The woman who comes now to the brink of waking, mutters, suddenly roars in tongues. Her holster still snapped, her glance lifting to gray heavens shot through with rose lily light. The other woman straightens, patient, and waits. Black, blue, carnation pink. Thank you. This is the final poem, and the background is I have a brother, and he spent his adult life really, really hating small children. I mean, hating small children. Sometimes he would leave a restaurant if a small child was crying, and well, he really hated them. But via a remarkable series of circumstances, at the age of 50, he wound up with an adoptive daughter. And you know, kids have kryptonite, and she got him. She totally got him. He loves that child, and It is a world of mystery and wonder. And when my father turned 80, we were all there together where we had grown up, my brother and his new family and his original family, and that was fairly amazing. So this poem also has an epigraph, and it is from the Venerable Saint Bede, the Ecclesiastical History of the English People, which is not nearly as dull as it sounds, I want to reassure you. And this is what he writes. The present life of man upon earth seems to me like the swift flight of a sparrow through the mead hall where you sit at supper in winter, flying in at one door and immediately out at another, safe from the wintry tempest, but after a short space, he immediately vanishes out of your sight, passing from winter to winter again. So this is called, At 50, My Brother Who Always Hated Children Finds a Daughter. It's hard to doubt the mystery and wonder of a world where this brother and I can find ourselves gathering sticks from the soft stubble of October grass outside the house where we were raised up, here where we picked up sticks for 15 years, 30 years ago, and the place being all but woods even then, the sticks and the work all but endless, always to be done anew. And where we can find ourselves now under the whistling of whitethroats returning for winter, collecting sticks yet again, the years folded and doubled, because this time it is with her, 4-year-old Leah Hannah, darting in for a hug and then out to grab up and juggle sticks, of which there are always, even now, more and more, while yellow walnut leaves flicker and flutter down through air clear as water was then. And in rays of autumn sun, columns of translucent gnats spin and dance their brief day of life in the long light. This child has never been betrayed. She is as joyful as she is new. Next year, she will go to school, this sudden daughter, luminous bloom on our generation's barren limb, to learn cruelty, injustice, trouble. Feet on the home sand, arms cluttered with a rubble of twigs from the home walnut trees in the afternoon of the shortening day. I say aloud, to no one, since now Leah has abandoned the sticks and run to blow soap bubbles, this is the heart of the crystal, star at the apple's core, this is it. But as an undulating bubble quivers past and strands on an aster to tremble and slide rose-green prisms over its shimmering side, no, I think now, this is the moment that ends as you touch it. Gnat in the last shaft of sun, sparrow 2/3 through the hall, this is it, and it is the heart of the bubble. So I think that wraps us up, and I want to thank you so much for coming and listening.
Oh, wow. Catherine, y'all can unmute. I know everybody feels the same way I do. You want to clap. Oh, that was just gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Amazing.
Everybody's writing stuff in the chat. And somebody had said, no, it's not the last poem. Future laters, guys. Let's ask for an encore. We should just say a number and you can open to that page and read that poem.
Well, we
wonderful.
Can't do wonderful. Right, they're dangerous.
Somebody said something that I missed. Let me go to it. Repeat it.
That might have been me. I said wonderful.
Hi, Laura.
Yeah, Laura.
Hi. It's so good to see you.
It is lovely to see you as well.
And, you know, I wanted to go back to something that I saw someone write, and I thought this has got to be a student. Mary said, nice title, but what does it mean? The last one about your brother. That's awesome. Mary, you care to elaborate on that one? That's awesome. So beautiful. I will send the chat section to you. Yeah, it was just such a clear title. No, and I love that was something that I was enjoying. I know, Mary, it was actually really funny. I appreciated your humor there. I love how you really did use a few titles to really ground us on solid ground, which is fantastic because I find myself like so surrounded by amazing images that it's like having something painted all around me in 3D. I don't know a way to describe that, except that's how it feels when I hear you read your work, is things come to life in a vividness that is amazing. And I also really have to say, like with Black and Blue, and then also with the Party of Outrage, there's a beautiful way that you have a connection with humanity and just this empathy that hits so hard and with such depth that I really admire that. Susan just wrote, so wonderful. Thank you. Congratulations on the new collection. I'll order from City Lights. So if people have questions, please just jump in. You can write them in the chat section, but I'd love it if you would just jump in and we can have conversation. Hey, Karen, I know you have a comment on the Billy Collins poem. I know.
I can't even go there. I was so excited. It was hard to stay in my chair. That was just so fabulous. I might be a stalker of Billy Collins. I don't know.
Okay, she actually has a poem that I'm going to beg her to read called "Throwing a." It's not, the title isn't "Throwing a Bra."
No, that's not the title of it.
That image just stays with me. I'm
yeah,
sorry.
I'll have to think of what the title is. Yeah.
Throwing a bra up on the stage when Billy Collins reading.
Yeah. I love him so much. I loved your poem. It was all your poems, Catherine, just so good. Would you mind talking about what your writing practice is, if you have a practice? I'm using air quotes, not to be presumptive.
It's really kind of terrible this time of year because the semester has been grinding along. I was speaking to Jeff Harden earlier or I guess last month, and he writes something every day. And I was so envious and so admiring, and I felt so guilty. It tends to come in waves, I guess. Lately, I'm grading lesson plans, and I've got some nice grammar exams, and there are some great papers, and there are some not so great papers. So that's kind of, at the moment, that's what there is. But when things are a little looser, I've been known to write poems at department meetings. Sorry, Mary. But lately, all the department meetings are on Zoom, so nobody would know anyway. So there's really no sense of transgression. It's very sad.
What fun is that?
I know. The idea is to make it look like you're working.
It's kind of a relief to hear that, though, because I think when Karen was asking the question, that for some of us, it's not something that is disciplined every day, and that it is kind of a flow that you enter, and then I have to set aside for other things. So that kind of gives me hope to hear you say that, Catherine. Did anybody else have a question? And I'm checking the chat just to make sure I haven't missed something. There were several lines that we all put at the same time. This moment that ends when you touch it.
Malika, I've got a question for Catherine.
Not bad.
Catherine, I was especially taken with your poem about seining the parking lot, because you had such incredible details about the sea life and everything like that. Is that something you grew up with? How much research do you put in something that poem to get the incredible detail that you included in that poem? And then it was also so visual. I mean, it wasn't just the detail, but you brought these creatures to life for me who's never seen them before.
Well, that's kind of pure luck and gift, you might say. And Malika, if you could pan to my parents, you could have them wave. My father is a biologist, and my mother is an English teacher and a master gardener. So I got real lucky.
Here's Margaret. Hi, Margaret. We made you a spotlight. And there's Dad off there. That's awesome.
He's over on that side.
Hi, there he is. There we go. Yeah, that's beautiful to see their influence, on your writing. And you were saying before other people came that your mom read a lot of Dr. Seuss. So we have her to thank for a lot of this. That was a great question. Thanks for asking that, Karen. Going back to process, how, when you're working on a book, do you know right away that that's what you're working on, or do you just find that poems start to talk to each other? How does that work for you?
Well, that one's really kind of a pest. They're all one-offs mostly until they're not, although I've got more of a theme for this book I'm working on now. But heretofore, I've had to figure out what to do about it, how to get them together. So I have a friend in Delaware who's good at helping me with that. But actually on Larvae, I sent it to LSU and the outside reader sent it back and said there wasn't enough of an arc. And I was very much worried by this. I wasn't sure I knew how to give it an arc. And eventually it turned out I could, but at first, I thought this is it, this is the end, I'll never publish anything again. I have no arc, it's all lost. It's a real struggle.
Yes, I was curious if that was something that came natural. Now, the book that you were working on now, you said there's something, kind of obvious, or it's more cohesive, but I wondered about that because there is very much an arc, and I'm kind of surprised to find that that's not something that just comes natural for you.
Mm-mm.
That's a relief.
No, I was at a workshop once with, I think it was Stuart Deschelle, and he said, it's not like judges everywhere really are just pining for a book of poems about Admiral Byrd, but when they get it, they know what they're looking at, right? Everything makes sense.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, crap, I don't want to write a book of poems about Admiral Byrd, but you can kind of see, you can see that it makes a certain kind of sense.
Yeah. Caleb just put, I can relate. And Brian's saying the same thing we all are thinking. We want another poem. Go ahead, Catherine, you're still on the spotlight too. Would you please read another one?
You want a cheery poem or a grim poem or a dirty poem or what?
all of the above. Wait, we have, yes. I don't want to choose between those. Yes, please. Oh, Anne just wrote dirt. Okay, you've got grim, dirty poem, sorry. The people have spoken.
Okay, hang on one second while I return to my file here. The poem I'm looking for, it appeared in Rhino this past spring, and it is an ode. I've been working on a lot of odes. Well, not like, Sharon Olds a lot of odes, but quite a number of odes. For me, a lot of odes. And the nature of the ode is kind of praise, particularly praise of the quotidian, the everyday, the perhaps lowly. And this one is an ode to the anus. And when I was thinking about this, I thought somebody must have done this. And so I went and looked to see who else had done it. Indeed, there was one. Would anyone care to guess? Who else has preceded me in writing an ode to the anus? Maxine Cuman, great guess. If she has, I don't know about it, Susan. Earl of Rochester, always a great guess. Billy Collins, not that I'm aware, but.
Catherine.
Yes.
Oh, it's Karen, but I don't have my video on.
Ah. Yes.
Wasn't it a bishop? A bishop? It was a bishop or somebody.
Although, there could be some that I did not find, right? There could be quite a lot.
I don't remember that.
Well, the one I found, although these are excellent guesses, was a one-time only collaboration between the French symbolists Rimbaud and Baudelaire. And they decided that there had been odes on every part of the female anatomy except one. And so they decided to remedy this deficit. But yeah. And, it would not surprise me to find that Ginsberg had gotten in on the act. But so this is called Ode Anus. And it is rich in illusion. Asshole, they call you, lowest and darkest of the low and the dark, but of all jokes, mouth of the blast, vent for the Anglo-Saxon fart and shit, hidden lip with no tongue. There are few hymns to you, muscular and grave and diligent Anus, monastery novice, faithfully shoveling soil each day to channel away all we can't use. Simple lifer, minimalist, declutterer, with more faith and discipline than Marie or Martha, who also have anuses. And though Dante crawled down Satan's haunch toward a summoner's den of damned friars, though Absalom kissed Alisoun's nether ea, neither Dante nor Chaucer praised your keen feeling. Neither your deep exorcisms, your casting out of what possesses us so piercing that some have tiled red pentacles round the base of porcelain toilet pedestals, arcane stars to fence in what the bowel summons up and what you, Anus, put down. Expelling Gothmog, demon lord of the abyss, in exuberant relief akin to that of the crow spattering white over newly painted porch railings. No, nor your power of pain, rending cramps, unzip rip of the all but healed fissure, reducing even the strong to whimpers, voiceless endurance of bees who die rather than defile the hive, desperate anal vents locked tight. Freud, who also had etc., thought art was feces and money was feces, but barely praised you, organ of the creation of space, sacred rat of black passages where famously no sun shines, much mocked, unloved asshole, living ring of muscle and nerve, splitting wood, carrying water, His Holiness the abbot shitting in the withered field, Zen of the letting go, local God at the lintel, who opens the way from this second into the next, each second holy and inescapably its own here and now, each one equally holy. So now we're scarred. And the abbot, I should have said at the beginning, that's a haiku, a famous haiku by the haiku master Busan, the old abbot shitting in the withered fields. And I can only assume it's a trope of decay and renewal, but it's slightly mysterious.
Awesome. So Benjamin must have known this poem because he already, before you started reading it, he had already put in there. And then he said, this poem always makes me snicker like a middle schooler.
Such is the goal.
Oh, when you posted that in the spring is what Roberta said. It was everything I needed at the beginning of this all. There you go.
This year, we need many such things.
Or at the end is what Susan said. Yeah, we probably need that like a bookend for 2020. Thank you so much, Catherine, for doing that, for reading another poem. So I wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything in the chat section. This has been fun.
There's
If
no
people
love
have a
like
question,
asking for another poem, thank you.
oh no, we keep going. I have a feeling that all of us would say, yeah, now we want another one.
We have some open mics out there, perhaps.
We do. So I have just one person that had signed up for open mic. So I want people, I will call names because I have people's names up here. Thank you so much, Catherine. It's been a delight. I'm so glad that it worked out that December was when you could join us and celebrate together. And it was just lovely to hear you read. If people want to clap, you can unmute. We can say it again.
Thank you, Malika. And thank you
Brava.
all so much for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was lovely to have your parents here too. That's awesome. So, Karen, for open mic, I have just Laura, but I'd like other people to jump in. Christy, I see Karen. And Benjamin, you're here. You can read something. That would be awesome. So, and Laura, you said you wanted me to mute when you read.
Yeah, don't record me because I might work this one and submit
Okay,
it
no
somewhere.
worries. I'm going to pause. And then,
And Leaping Clear, I think last year. And the title is Night View from a Bedroom Window. She hides her shine behind the clouds, flirts with stars I cannot see, winks at planets and galaxies I trust are there, even though the dark obscures such love affairs. and stories of a face in her crescent shape, or werewolves howling when she is full, tease in a universe of corks and strings where jazz cats belt her pull, the same pull that guides tides, morphs flat-chested girls into full-breasted women, mothers and daughters who fear the silver disc, may one night follow her shadow into the sea, forsake her cycles, forget to lure moonflowers into midnight bloom.
Ooh, beautiful. I am loving just the music that everybody is having with their poems. These are gorgeous. Benjamin, I have you next. Let me see if I can find you. If you say something, sometimes it'll light up and that helps. Oh, I see you.
I'm here.
I'm coming to you.
Hey,
Are you okay with me recording, Benjamin?
Yes, that's fine. Good
Yay.
to go. All right, wonderful. Sorry I had to keep myself silent and invisible. I spent most of this reading putting my toddler to bed, but she is down now, so we are clear to go. The poem I'm going to read is titled Elegy with Failed Metaphors. It's a poem, an elegy for my Nana, who passed away when I was 17, so very long ago. The pressure to write a poem with good metaphors sometimes is too much, so I decided to write one with some failed metaphors. So this is, as I said, Elegy with Failed Metaphors. Near the end, Nana bit the end, the tail of a fish. This is not a metaphor. I am tired of metaphors for dying. It already swims in mystery dark waters. Nana, forgetting her southern polished propriety, lifted the fish from the plate and held it between newly polished nails, stilled in a moment of watery misremembrance, then brought the gleaming gray glory to her mouth. This was nothing like a kiss, and gentler than love's young teeth. No, love's barbed hook. No, love's cast net. No, I am tired of metaphors for loving. Near the end, Nana bit nothing. The final stroke left her submerged and swimming in a sea for which we had no map, no ship, her blue-scaled legs treading memory's black brine, neck stretching for breath, until at last she found the moon-glassed surface, no, the sun-softened shore, no, the ocean's skyless floor. No, I am tired of metaphors, tired of these meatless fins, tired of biting into nothing but bone and skin. This is only dying and loving. We do them every day. Thank you.
That was just gorgeous. Thank you so very much. That was a poem I really needed to hear, and I'm sure I'm not the only one with that. Yeah, and it's a gorgeous title, and Karen just wrote Failed Metaphors. I love this poem, and Catherine just wrote, wow. Yeah, truly wow, Benjamin. Thank you. That was amazing. Wow. It's going to take me a minute. I got to sit with that one. I want to make sure that anybody who wanted to read has had a chance to let me know. And if I have missed you for some reason, I apologize. Sometimes I get behind. So jump in. Christy, jump in.
I'll
That'd be
read.
lovely.
Okay. I don't want you to record me though, because this one's been accepted, but it hasn't